So, and now we're in Malaysia, one of the best universities in Asia. Am I right? Oh, come on. You're here, so you've got to make it the best if you don't think it's the best, okay? All right? Your reputation as an alumni in the future will make this even a better university, okay? It's very important. Now, what am I here doing today? I'm going to take you through some exercises. I'm going to show you some steps that you need to take for your project, okay? And part of the reasoning that I'm seeing you in the first week is so that you can mentally get prepared to do the project. Because your biggest challenge in the next 6 weeks is to find a business that you can do the project on. And so it's too late in week 6 when you see me in the lecture and I say, oh, you've got to go out and find a business. And you're rushing around and you'll come to me, I can't find one, I'm having trouble. So that's why I need to speak to you in the first week, okay? Because if you've got 8 weeks to find a business, then serendipity will happen. In other words, a coincidence will happen without you even trying. And you'll find a business will come to you. But if I just give you 2 weeks, some of you will struggle, many of you will fail. Okay? So that's why I'm talking to you today. The lesson plan for today is I'll show you what it means to make a strategy map. And it's called a strategy map exercise. So you're going to do a real strategy map exercise where you're going to do a strategy map for a coffee shop. Great. Okay. Then I'm going to explain to you what the balanced scorecard assignment is about. That is the project that's worth 20% of your assessment and what you have to do to score well. Put your hand up if that's important to you. And then I will talk a little bit about videos that you can refer to that can help you in your learning process. Okay? The whole key for today is to prepare you to do a good job on the project. I'm going to give you two things. I'm going to give you some steps. And number 2, I'm going to show you a video. And part of that is to provide clarity. Clarity, all right? What we have here is a group of students from NUS Business School. They did exactly the same project I'm asking you to do. Okay, so I know it can be done well. And they chose, do you know this Koi Cafe? How many of you know that? Okay, good. So immediately it becomes interesting to you, right? Right, because you know about it. And they're talking about the product, then they'll talk about the strategy, then they'll show a strategy map, and then they'll say what type of measures should be used in that cafe. Okay? Notice that they're dressed for success. In other words, they are playing the role of the business they are presenting on. Okay? Let me fast forward. Okay? So part of this presentation, they are doing role play with different scenarios of customers coming into the coffee shop. The group is moving around. They're swapping around. And it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then the presentation is done. It's to you and the you, then back to you, okay? Interactive between the group and between the class, okay? Cue cards are very important. This is the first part of your strategy map, determining who is the customer and why are they buying the product or the service. Okay, so that's the first step of a strategy map, the why, okay? And it's the first step in the SMS strategy. Fast forward again.
Financial what? The magic word.
Measurement, okay? So, is there interaction between the presenters and the class? Yes or no? Yes, there is. That's important, interaction, okay? All right? Now we have a strategy map. Strategy map. And that's what you are going today. I'm going to show you how you can produce a simple strategy map. And then here's the strategy map for Koi Cafe. That if you do something, it leads to something else, leads to something else, and then leads to lots of profits and sales. That's what a strategy map is. Okay? It's an operational representation of the business model, of a successful business model. Okay? So I'm just showing you parts of this presentation so you can visualize what your presentation, what your fantastic presentation is going to look like. Okay? Remember, I want you to think of the problem of, I'm coming in at week 6, and you're probably thinking, well, O'Connor, how come you're in here at week 1 when Mason, your lecturer, is teaching budgeting, and then week 2 budgeting, and week 3 budgeting, then week 4 budgeting, and then week 5 there's a midterm test, is that right? And then your first tutorial, we're going over strategy maps. Probably think, wow, okay. So you probably ask, well, was this going to be in the midterm test? No. Okay, all right. As I said earlier, I'm preparing you for the project. So there are 3 things to the strategy map framework, and that is there's strategic alignment, systems thinking, and measurement. The top one is a question about why is measurement important. That will come very, very clearly in a minute. So here is the overview. Basically, in week 6, I'm going to introduce you to a concept called the balanced scorecard. How many of you have heard of that before? Okay, so I want you to think about the 2 things. Scorecard means something to do with measurement, right? If you want to score well in a class, what does that mean? That means you want to get a high grade. Is that right? So score is to do with measuring. Balanced is we're trying to balance financial and non-financial measures. We're trying to balance financial and non-financial perspectives. In the next 4 weeks, Mason, in the lectures, will be introducing you a lot to the financial perspective. Okay? Budgets, how budgets are used in the organisation. Okay? When it comes to week 6, we're going to start to introduce you more to the non-financial perspectives. We want to balance the 2, and this will become very, very clear soon when I take you through some of these steps. So the balanced scorecard is made up of 3 things. SMS. How many of you know what SMS means? You'll use SMS. Now you know it means strategic objectives, measurement, and systems thinking. Systems thinking is a concept that is very rarely taught by accounting academics. Maybe they don't have time to teach it. Maybe they don't know what it means. But I'm going to give you some simple examples. So once you know systems thinking, wow, you'll be 10 times more powerful in explaining what goes on around you. Okay, so that's the balanced scorecard here. Now what we want to also look at is why do we have a balanced scorecard? The aim is to try and do GOAL. That is, we are trying to align goals in the organisation. We're trying to get all the people to work together. Okay. Or we're trying to have on-time decision making. That is, making sure we react to problems very, very quickly. And not wait till the end of the month when we get the accounting numbers to find out, oh, our sales are down in the past month. Oh, our costs have gone up. Oh, what have we been doing wrong? We better adjust our strategy for the next month. Too late, because your competitors are checking and adjusting their strategy every day. So that's what I mean by on-time decision making, okay? How fast do you look at the numbers, seek feedback, react, and make new decisions? And accurate decision making, all right? Mason is teaching you about that with the sales budget. If we can find out forecast demand for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months, we can work back what is the current beginning inventory we have now, and then take off any inventory we want, or the other way around. Then we need to know how much we need to produce today, or this month, or the next 6 months. That was the sales forecast budget, right? You are learning that now. Why do you do that? So you can make more accurate decisions about how much to produce and when to produce. And learning. We want to learn about the system. We want to learn about mistakes made. We want to make sure that if we have a problem with sales or a stock out, that we find out the root causes to those problems and we make changes so that doesn't happen again. So that's what we're trying. The balanced scorecard helps to achieve all of these objectives. I call it GOAL, G-O-A-L. All right? And just as a reminder, Mason, your very, very accomplished lecturer, gave you some reasons for budgeting. Do you remember that? Do you remember the reasons for budgeting? Let me just move this across a little bit. Ooh. The reasons for budgeting. There was a reason that started with C. I think there was a C, then there was a P, then there was a R. You remember this, don't you? Yes? Or no? Come on. When you think, what does the C stand for? Yeah, communication. Okay, give me another C. Control. Coordination, that's another one. Coordination, yes. Okay, what about the P? Planning, yes. Is there another P? Yeah, I love performance evaluation. Okay, because this is all about scoring, isn't it? This is all about giving student grades. What about the R? Resource allocation. I love resource allocation. That is, give me a higher salary, okay? Give me more resources to play with. All right, we love resource allocation. Okay, so these are the reasons for budgeting. I want you to think about that, because not just because it's on the midterm test, right? But I want you to think about them in a little bit more detail. Think about if you had your own business, it would be important to have some planning, right? You need to work out how many people you need to employ. Do you just need one person, two persons? Do you need to have a freelancer? Do you need, right? So you've got to plan for resources. And then you've got to think about, you've got so much money, you have limited amounts of money, so you need to make sure that you allocate it in the right areas. Okay, you don't have an unlimited bucket load of money. So therefore, where you allocate resources is very important. And you might need to coordinate because you don't spend everything at the same time. Or you need to work out what we need to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. All of you in your project as a group, you will need to coordinate. And you might ask, oh, so-and-so, can you go out and do this? And so you go do this. You know, that's coordination. You don't just all go out and do the same thing. All right? So, and performance evaluation, well, let me evaluate your performance when you do the presentation, okay? Or when you submit your report. I'm looking forward to that, all right? And control, you want to make sure some of your group members are not out of control. You know what I mean, don't you? Huh? You've been in a group where someone is not doing as much effort as you hope they would, right? Has that happened to you? Yeah, I can see it on your faces. Yes, I know. All right, and communication. All right, so that Mason talk talked about all of these benefits. It's possible to relate them to goal here. It's possible that we could have GOAL, and we can say, well, communication helps with goal alignment. It helps with all of these things here. Control, very, very important here. Planning is very important for on-time decision-making and accurate decision-making. Resource allocation. Coordination is very, very important here. And performance evaluation, very important for learning, very important here. Okay? And so you get a sense that I'm not just giving you 4 more reasons for why you have some management accounting information, then you say, oh, Neil, 48 hours ago I was given 6 reasons for budgeting, and now I've got O'Connor tutor today giving you 4 more reasons. Now there's 10. I wish I only had 1 lecturer in this course, you know? So I just want to let you know that this is a different way of thinking about the benefits of some kind of information system. Okay? But just to allay your fears for the purposes of the mid-semester test, the midterm tests, okay, you need to really understand what these reasons are, okay? These purposes. Are we clear on that? Okay, so another perspective we can take with the balanced scorecard is to think in terms of financial and non-financial. Let me relate it back to your lecture with Mason is talking to you about budgeting, am I right? So is that financial or non-financial? That's financial. But we are using that information to help manage the internal business process. As Mason has explained, we're using budgeting to help resource allocation, to coordinate planning and control. That is all down here, the internal business process. But when you do financial accounting, guess what? We just create the profit and loss report, and then we put it into whatever is required by FASB, IFRS, or GAAP in the USA. We put it into those reports and send it out to the stakeholders. It becomes a reporting purpose, all right? But we're in management accounting, so we're not about reporting as the number one purpose of why we do things. We're about trying to improve business and make business successful and control business in that process. Okay, so that's what we mean by the 4 layers here. We've got financial, we've got the internal. One thing we haven't mentioned, and we're going to spend more time on in week 6, is the customer. And then finally, we're going to talk about learning and growth. Learning and growth is, learning and growth is over here as an important thing because it's about how do you sustain a business? Well, you need to learn. You cannot just repeat 2017 in 2018 and assume you'll get the same results. You've got to learn to do things better. And then 2019, we need to learn to do things better again. Why? Because competitors will come along and take away our customers if we don't learn. So learning is very important. Learning is also important to help do better business processes. Okay? Learning is important for strategy, but it's very important for making processes improve over time, become more efficient. Okay, so that's an introduction to the balanced scorecard. What I want to do now is prep you to do the strategy map. And so I want to introduce you to the 3 things that make up the scorecard. The first SMS is to do with the customer. And did you all find my YouTube video, the why video? Did you start watching that? Did you find it? Up the back, did you find it? Okay, so the purpose was not for you to watch all of it right now. Watch the start of it and start to feel, wow, what's this guy talking about? Okay, after today, your homework tonight is to watch all of that video to help you reflect on what we talked about today. It will make sense tonight. It will make sense after today's tutorial. Okay? When we talk about strategy and the customer, the big question is why? Why does your customer buy your service or buy your product? That's the big question. That's what strategy is. Okay? A strategy, if you want to make more sales, you need to know why customers are buying from you. Okay? Often, the accounting system will say, maybe you're selling pens as a business, and you have a good month. Customers buy lots of pens. So the accounting system says, you sold lots of pens. The accounting system says, you made lots of money. But the accounting system never tells you if those customers are going to come back. The accounting system will not tell you about, will those customers come back and buy your pens in the future? That's why you need to think about talking to the customers and getting non-accounting information. Why did they buy your pen? To make sure that you continue to make the attributes that the customers want. This sounds like marketing. No, what we are trying to do is balance accounting with non-accounting information. Okay, we need both. We cannot just rely on the customer. We need to make money, so the accountant's important. But we need to know why the customer is buying a product. Do we need to change the product or service? So that's what we mean by the first S. The middle one is measurement. You'll hear about measurement a lot in week 6. But I want to skip over that for now, because the key ingredients for you to get started on your project is probably a good understanding of this S and this S here. Because really, when you're constructing a balanced scorecard, the measurement comes last. Okay? All right, the first S is why customers are in business. Why customers buy from you. Why do they buy your product? Why do they buy your service? The second S is as follows. Systems thinking. How many of you have heard of that before? Okay, so here we have a picture of a shower. So back when I was growing up as a kid, we had an old house in Australia in the country, and back a long, long time ago, the showers had 2 taps. There was a hot tap and a cold tap. And the number 1 rule we learnt very, very quickly when we were a kid is always turn the water on before you get into the shower. Okay? Because if it's too hot, when you turn it on and it starts coming out, then you know what happens, right? So we turn the faucet on, we turn the hot and cold, and then we test the water, right? And too cold. Okay, then we change the action. We turn the hot a little bit more. Then we check the temperature again. Okay, that's what we call a system. How many of you are feeling too hot in this room now? Or cold? Anyone cold? You're a bit cold? Okay, let me go and turn the temperature up a little bit. Okay, all right. And then now that's an action, and then the temperature will go up, and then you can now compare the temperature with your standard, and then you can tell me, are you happy with the new temperature? That's a system. So when we talk about systems thinking, that's all we're talking about. We're talking about a system of cause and effects. So what we mean is that we have a system is an action, okay? Action, detection, and then we have a comparison with a standard, and then we take more action. That's it. All right, that's a system. Some people call that a cybernetic system, like a closed system. In other words, the feedback loop is very strong. Okay? All right? So action, you change the temperature. Detection, you feel the temperature, you compare it with what you want, that is your standard, which is here, and then you decide, oh, I don't want to take more action, the temperature is right. Okay, that's a system. Okay, accounting helps inform a system like this in a business. See, detection is measurement. It's measuring of something about the business. It is measuring the stock control. It is measuring sales. The budget is a planned measurement of the future, right? You're learning budgeting, okay? But it helps to measure where you are in the business, where you're going to be in the future. If sales go well, the way you produce goes well. And then you compare that with a standard. So you're going to learn variance analysis when the actual comes in, and then you're going to take action. Do we produce more? Do we do more marketing? Do we employ more people? You see what I mean? So when we talk about systems thinking, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, we measure something, we compare it with a standard, and then we take some action. Then we measure again, we compare, action. Measure, compare, action. Measure, compare, action. Traditionally, in the old days, an accounting system would give you this cycle once per month. Okay, so you have month-end closing, and then the accounting system says, here's your sales, here's your profit. Then you go back, and then all the decision makers meet. Oh, we need to do more marketing in the next month. We need to do more producing in the next month. Okay, or we had sales returns. Oh, we need to fix what's going on with the product. There's a defect. Well, we find out a month later, right? Okay, how do you compete if you're only doing this once a month, when you've got new online businesses where they can detect sales every minute of the day, and every hour or even less they can take actions in terms of marketing? And so now you've got businesses that are just going very, very fast in terms of measuring, making decisions, measuring, making decisions. Okay, the old model was we just do this on a monthly basis. Which type of business do you think is going to win in the future? The one that is measuring and taking action very fast, or the one that is doing it in a monthly accounting cycle? Hands up for the fast one. Hands up for the slow one. Okay? So you see what I mean when I talk about on-time decision making? That's why I'm very, very excited when I talk about the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? All right. Now you see what I mean by when I talk about on-time decision making. It's about being able to react very, very fast. This is not wrong. Okay. All right. This is the purposes of budgeting. Okay. This is the purposes. All right. Just relax a little bit. Okay. So that's what we mean by systems thinking. All right. Let me repeat again. The whole idea of a balanced scorecard is SMS. That is, you know what the customer wants. You have a system. So you have a sense of the business model. What causes what, causes what, causes what, okay? And once you have a sense of that, then you can start measuring the different parts. You start measuring different parts of this model, because then the measures are giving you visibility of that feedback process. And the more you measure, it's likely that you can have that faster feedback process. And that's why the internet is disrupting so many businesses these days, because it's not that internet businesses have a better service or a better product, they're just measuring faster, they're reacting faster. You with me here? That's why the internet is disrupting a lot of businesses. All right? It's not because they have a better product or a better service. They're just doing these cycles faster. Okay? All right? Wow. That's it. That's it. Okay? So systems thinking, and then we can think about measurement in more detail in week 6, where we can strategically think about what do we want tomorrow. Then we need to think about what we need to do today. And we focus on, We cannot control the outcomes, but we can control the inputs or the processes. You with me here? Okay? The inputs and processes. You cannot control your outcomes. And so measurement, to be effective, should be focusing on processes and inputs. Often accounting doesn't do a good job in measuring this part. Accounting does a very good job in measuring this part here. Another reason why we want to balance accounting with non-accounting measures. Okay. So what I've just done is I've taken out parts of the week 6 lecture and given you the key ideas. Okay? So because what we're going to do now is take you through a strategy map exercise. So again, this is like the system of cause and effect in a business, and a balanced scorecard would include the measures and an action plan. And this might look like something that you would present in week 10. Okay? All right, long way away, but all of you are very, very capable. But we can start with something a little simpler, and that is something like one objective here, one or two objectives here, one objective here, and one objective there. So here's a simple story. That is, if we employ the right people with the right skills and attitude is important, okay? All right, then maybe we get first fast service, quality food, we get customer loyalty, and customer loyalty means they'll keep coming back, and then we make profit. So there's a story of success, and that's like, there's a strategy map there. That's it. That's your project. Okay, starting with that, okay? Remember, this is day 1, so I want to give you a simple map to look at for day 1, all right? In week 10, you're going to give me something wonderfully, a little bit more complicated than this, but that's all right. We've got to start baby steps.